He thought it was just another routine meeting. Another chance to prove his power in a room where he believed he controlled everything. The kind of room where decisions were made quickly, where voices like his carried weight, and where authority was rarely questioned. Then she spoke. A young black girl, calm and unshaken, claiming something that made the entire room freeze. Her voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. It carried a quiet certainty that cut through the noise. He laughed, loud, dismissive, certain she didn't belong there. The kind of laugh meant to shrink someone, to remind them of their place without saying it directly. To him, she was just another face to overlook, another voice to silence before it could be heard. But what happened in the next few moments didn't just challenge his arrogance, it shattered it completely, because the truth she carried wasn't just unexpected, it was undeniable. And when the room finally reacted, it wasn't her who was questioned, it was him. So how did the person he mocked become the one who held all the power? It had taken her years to reach that building, years of quiet sacrifices, late nights and proving herself in rooms where she was rarely taken seriously. She had learned early on that people didn't always see her potential first. They saw her difference. They saw what made her other before they saw what made her capable. Still, she kept showing up, again and again, letting her work speak louder than their doubts, letting her consistency challenge their assumptions. Even when recognition didn't come, even when respect felt delayed, she stayed focused. That morning felt no different. The glass towers reflected the rising sun as she stepped inside, composed and focused, carrying the kind of confidence that didn't need to be loud or forced. It was earned, built over time, through experience, through resilience. Around her, conversations flowed. Suits moved with purpose. Laughter echoed in corners. And yet no one paid her much attention. It was something she had grown used to, being overlooked before being understood. But today wasn't just another day. There was a meeting, one that could shift everything. The kind of meeting where decisions were made behind closed doors, where influence mattered, and where power revealed itself in subtle, often unspoken ways. And as she walked toward that room, there was a quiet tension in the air, like something was about to unfold. Because in a place where respect was often decided before a single word was spoken, one moment, just one, was about to challenge everything they thought they knew. The room shifted the moment she walked in. Conversations softened, eyes turned, and for a brief second, everything seemed to pause, just long enough for quiet judgment to settle in. She felt it instantly. The subtle glances, the unspoken assumptions, the quick evaluations people made without even realizing it. It wasn't new, but today it felt heavy. She took her seat without hesitation, placing her notes calmly on the table. Around her, executives exchanged polite nods, their attention drifting past her as if she were invisible. Then he entered. The man everyone seemed to orbit around, confident, loud, carrying the kind of authority that filled the room before he even spoke. His presence shifted the energy immediately. Conversations paused. Attention followed him. His eyes landed on her almost instantly. Not with curiosity, but with doubt. A quick glance, then a smirk that lingered just a second too long. A look that said everything without a single word. The meeting began, but the tension didn't fade. It grew. Voices overlapped, ideas were shared, decisions were debated. Numbers, strategies, projections, all moving quickly, all demanding attention. She listened carefully, observing, waiting for the right moment. And when it came, she spoke. Clear, composed, precise. Her words cut through the noise with quiet confidence. Not rushed, not uncertain, just steady and intentional. For a split second, there was silence. Then came the reaction. A quiet chuckle at first, then louder. He leaned back in his chair, shaking his head as if what she had said didn't deserve to be taken seriously, as if her contribution was something to be dismissed, not considered. The room followed his lead. Some looked away. Others smiled awkwardly. A few shifted in their seats, uncomfortable but silent. No one interrupted him. No one stopped it. He didn't ask questions. He didn't challenge her ideas. He didn't engage in discussion. He dismissed her, completely. And just like that, the tone of the room changed. What should have been a moment of recognition turned into something else entirely. Something colder. Something sharper. She could feel every pair of eyes on her now, not with respect, but with expectation, waiting to see how she would respond, waiting to see if she would shrink. But she didn't react the way they thought she would. No anger, no raised voice, no visible frustration. Just a steady breath and a calm expression that didn't break. Because this wasn't the first time she had been underestimated. It wasn't even the worst. But something about this moment felt different. Because he didn't stop. He leaned forward, his voice sharper now, cutting through the room with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. He questioned her presence, subtly at first, then more openly, suggesting she was in the wrong place, that she didn't understand how things worked at this level. Each word carefully chosen, but the message was clear. And still, no one spoke up. The silence around her became louder than his words. Every second stretched, thick with tension. The air felt tighter, harder to breathe. The weight of the moment pressed down, testing her, pushing her toward a reaction. But instead of backing down, she did something unexpected. She held his gaze, calm, unshaken. Because he didn't stop. He leaned forward, his voice sharper now, cutting through the room with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. He questioned her presence, subtly at first, then more openly, suggesting she was in the wrong place, that she didn't understand how things worked at this level. Each word carefully chosen, but the message was clear. And still, no one spoke up. The silence around her became louder than his words. Every second stretched, thick with tension. The air felt tighter, harder to breathe. The weight of the moment pressed down, testing her, pushing her toward a reaction. But instead of backing down, she did something unexpected. She held his gaze, calm, unshaken, and then, without raising her voice, she said something that made the room go completely still. For a moment, no one moved. No one even breathed, because whatever they thought this moment was going to be, it had just taken a turn no one saw coming. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything that had come before it. Every eye in the room was locked on her now, but this time it wasn't dismissal. It was uncertainty. He leaned back, still wearing that faint, confident smile, as if he expected her to fold under the pressure, as if this moment would end the same way it always had, with her stepping back, with him staying in control. But she didn't move. Instead, she reached forward and calmly placed a single document on the table. The sound of paper sliding across the surface cut through the silence like a blade. Heads turned. Eyes dropped. Confusion turned into realization. The document carried authority. Undeniable, official, final. Signatures that mattered. Decisions already made. His expression shifted, slowly at first. The confidence in his posture tightened, then cracked. Someone across the table picked it up, scanning it quickly before looking back at her, this time, not with doubt but with something else entirely. Respect. Another voice spoke, quieter now, confirming what no one in the room had expected. And just like that, everything changed. The man who had laughed just moments ago sat frozen. His words were gone. His certainty unraveled in front of everyone. The room that once echoed with his authority now held nothing but silence, and the weight of truth settling in, because the person he had dismissed, the one he had questioned, the one he thought didn't belong, was the one who held the power all along. And in that moment, as every gaze shifted away from him and toward her, one truth became impossible to ignore. This was never her test. It was his. The meeting didn't continue the way it was supposed to. It couldn't. The energy in the room had shifted too deeply, too permanently. What was once filled with quiet dismissal was now heavy with realization. He didn't say much after that. The same voice that had dominated the room moments earlier had fallen silent, replaced by something unfamiliar, uncertainty. For the first time, he wasn't the one controlling how the room saw him. She, on the other hand, didn't celebrate, didn't raise her voice, didn't seek revenge. She simply stood in her truth, calm, composed, and undeniable. Because this moment wasn't just about proving him wrong. It was about something bigger. Something deeper than one meeting, one man, or one mistake. It was about every time she had been overlooked. Every time someone assumed she didn't belong before she even spoke. Every quiet judgment that came before the truth had a chance to be seen. And as people in that room began to look at her differently, not as someone to question, but someone to respect, it became clear that the real impact of that moment wouldn't end there. Because outside that room, stories like this happen every single day. Not all of them end the same way. Not everyone gets the chance to be heard, to be validated, or to stand in a position where the truth can't be ignored. That's what makes moments like this powerful, not because they are rare, but because they reveal something we often choose not to see. So the question is, how many voices are still being dismissed before they're even understood? And how different would the world look if we simply chose to listen?